Hello, how are you doing? Pleasure to be here at Klabin to talk to you a little bit about innovation. I'm going to get into the culture of innovation and the time for innovation. It's great to see such a large company like Klabin to be talking about innovation. We always say that the first step for us to innovate is to get it started. And that means to begin to participate, to begin speaking about it, and to start practicing it. All of that is related. And we have to have this inkling for innovation. So congratulations to you who is listening, and congrats to Klabin for the initiative. I think that's the first of many steps that we are constantly taking towards doing something different. So today I want to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about my experience. My name is LUIZ DANIEL. I am a manager of application engineering at 3M. I've been working with that for a couple of years now. I've been in different companies. In my background, I'm going to tell you some of my history so you can understand a little more about the culture of innovation. Everyone says that they want to innovate, but they lack the time. And the time for innovation, the time to construct something different, we are the ones who make this time. Well, 3M has a very old history, you know? I mean, the company has over 100 years. I think we have 55,000 products, and we work on different industries. During the pandemic, I thought it was really interesting because people used to talk about 3M, about the sticky notes, the post-its. Now they talk about the ventilators, the protection masks. Everyone knows what is a PFF2. This is phenomenal. And some of the people also know about us because we produce the test materials that the laboratories use to develop vaccines and different health solutions. So I'm very proud to work in a company that is part of the process, that is helping us at this so delicate moment in our society. But it's also good to see how diverse we are and how we have our hands in many different sectors. This is one of the things that for sure generates and connects innovation. It's that diversity and it's that, you know, it's that difference and simplicity. There are many simplicities that connect to each other. So it's very nice to see how the culture of innovation really penetrates all the activities and sectors. And it's great to notice that your work is part of that. Usually when you talk about the 3M history and how 3M has been developing solutions, people like to talk about the new stories, the poetic stories. I like the B side, you know what I mean? I like that difference, the story that not a lot of people know. When we talk about the sticky notes, everyone talks about the things that would stick and not stick, but I like a different side of that story. I worked with Art Fry, and when we were talking, I asked him to tell me what was the most difficult thing about this project, because it's a little romanticized to think that the projects just work out, they are wonderful, they conclude, and we sell millions, everyone gets an award, but the reality, you know, the reality is always different. Real life, that guerrilla warfare life, I mean, it's not like that. So Art Fry started this project, and at the beginning, the sales teams didn't know about it because that was a different product. It was a novelty. And that usually happens when it comes to different things. People don't understand how to sell sticky notes because we were selling tapes, we were selling polishers. They didn't understand why we were making those materials, you know, like sticky notes for messages in the office. I mean, that was not our business. But he persisted in this project. He looked for people that could help him out. He worked for over 8 years in that project before the project actually turned into a product that began to be tested and sold. And he had the leeway, he had the freedom to work with that project besides his other commitments, of course. The world doesn't stop spinning. So he worked in this project without being questioned if that was something that was going to produce a short-term result for the company. So 3M had a CEO who was named William McKnight, and one of the principles of the company was to hire employees and let them work. That was one of his focuses. He was a major developer, and he provided a space for employees to work in what they thought was important. We talk about a 15% culture and the 15% rule at 3M. We've been talking about it for at least 60 years. So the rule of the 15% is about having time. 15% of our time, we should set aside 15% of our time in our schedule to be able to do things that we feel are relevant, to do things that we feel are interesting. These are usually, researches that are outside of our day-to-day. They are not really related to our work per se or the project at hand. And these things that we research, that's what creates innovation. That's what creates the novelties. That's what brings about new projects that are sometimes even better than the ones that we are working with. And the sticky notes are a great example. When you talk to Art Fry, he said, man, that was the first time that I was developing something, and it was great for note-taking, but it was a roll. It was like a tape, and I didn't want people to see that as a roll or a tape. So how did it go from the tape to those little squares? There was no way of converting tape rolls into blocks of notes. So he created a machine. He took frames from doors from the lab of 3M. With the okay of his boss and the help of his friends, he took away this equipment to try and build the machine to transform the tape rolls into blocks, into note blocks. Those blocks are very much omnipresent. Everyone knows about it. And it's great to see how this culture of collaboration, this participation culture really penetrates all the activities. And it's very interesting to see that this is also very much related to another principle, which is something that, men and women in our lab are the people that are going to take it forward. They are the ones that are going to move it forward. They are going to create the next bar in terms of innovation. So all of that connection, all of that unity, it really is about everything that we do. When we talk about the post-its or the stickies, it's easy to relate to that because everyone knows about the post-its. But when we talk about Art Fry, some people say, well, but that works back in Minnesota, in northern United States. This place that is super cold, super distant, and I can tell you that that place is really cold. But what about here? What about our context? Does that make sense? Can this happen here? So I always give examples that I worked with. I have worked in manufacture. I've been a plant manager. I've been a process manager. I've been a product developer, application engineer, and I can tell you that in all of these hats that I wore, I faced some challenges, just like the ones Art Fry faced. But I can tell you a simple story. This one time I was going to the field visiting customers, working on another of McKnight's principles, which is the truth is always behind the smoke screens, is always in the backstage, is always with the people that are in the front lines. So I was working side by side with our customers. I was trying to see what was happening. And one of the customers came to me with a huge problem that he had in his workshop, and I said, okay, let me help you out. I solved this problem, and then I came back to 3M and I said, is this a problem? Because I never seen someone ask me that. So I started calling other customers, asking about this problem, and I spoke to a lot of the salespeople in my team. Their role is to make a sale, but they really wanted to understand why the customers also faced the same problems. So we developed a solution, and that solution, I can tell you that when we started, I had an idea of what to do, and I had about 3% capacity of getting that done. So the chances of that working out were really slim. I mean, that was not the basis of my project. That was not really my set of skills. That wasn't even my obligation, but I transformed it into a 15% project, and I called people that had specific knowledge that could help me out. So I got this colleague that works at another division that had nothing to do with the automotive repair department, which is where I worked. And I said, man, help me out because I don't know how to solve this problem. I don't know how to make this. And he said, well, let's do a 3D printing. So we went to the manufacturing lab. He pulled the technology from manufacturing. He got another colleague involved that was an expert on mechanic design. So we created a whole design. We made it happen. We executed it, made prototypes, started testing it in this way. And that was my very first international patent. That was the first product that I developed that was patented internationally. And that was for 3M, and it was my creation, so I was super excited. I was super happy. Not only that, but I started, when I introduced the prototype after 1.5 years working on it without anybody knowing that existed, except for the people that were interacting and helping me out, of course. We introduced the project, and the business team, you know, the whole leadership said, oh my God, that is such an interesting idea, that's so different, let's test it out, and let's do it. So 1 year later, we were selling that product. We were selling it, leveraging sales and connecting customers and bringing different solutions. So that is to say that the solution is not contained in a box that is far removed from us. It is in our day-to-day and the things that we are capable or not of achieving. And it's just like I said, when we start this, we have 3% of capacity to execute what we have in our minds. That's what happened to me. A lot of people would say, stop now because this is not going to work out. And yes, the chances of it not working out are there, but the chances of it working out are there too. And if I didn't do anything, if I just would leave it to chance, I would still continue on my job, I would still continue on my tasks. So the time to innovate, the time to create something different, depended on me as well. It was up to me to do something. It was up to me to participate and try to do something that other people were not seeing and that we probably could make happen and that our customers would enjoy. So this concept, you know, we talk about hiring good people and letting them work, and this is also about that, you know, it's about trusting that employees will make it happen and tolerate the mistakes that happens. You know, there is another principle which is very well known, which is to take this criticism, take this judgment and over-management and not take it personal, you know. It's about being confident enough and calm enough to work. We know that the prince's story is true. When we find a prince, we are going to kiss many frogs. That is for sure. This is a reality. Everybody that was married know that it's hard. Marriage is hard work. It's hard to continue, but it's part of life. You know, these are different difficulties, of course, but it's about that development. It's about the evolution of making mistakes and getting it right. That is part of it to get to the end product. 1 year later, it can become a prototype or a patent or something that can be marketed. So to get to that point, we made many mistakes. There were many defects. There were many struggles. A lot of moments we just said, forget about it. It's not going to work out. Let's not move that. Let's not advance with that. And the willingness to do something different and the support of our colleagues. When one gave up, the other one said, no, let's try harder. We got to this point. The product makes sense. I mean, customers want to see it happen. This is going to work out. So then you connect once again, because the truth, once again, is behind the smoke screens. And if that idea is really related, deeply related to people who we are building that thing to, it is going to work out. So that's something that we really try to make happen, which is to be connected with those people and to bring it to reality. And that doesn't depend on anything else. In the pandemic, we've been connected in a different way, right? Obviously, there are many things to improve. We could have backlight, we could have this wonderful camera in front of us, we could be in a phenomenal studio space, but we still have a connection. We have a chemical connection. It seems like chemistry in terms of dating, but it's almost like dating, right? It's a personal connection where we can exchange something, where we can continue to speak, to interact with people that we are working working with the people for whom we are working for, and these people are able to give us some feedback, and that makes us grow and expand, and this connection becomes deeper, it gets improved, and more we start developing our relationships. And so, considering everything that I wanted to tell you and a little bit of what I wanted to, inform you in this quick chat, is the fact that the culture of innovation is not something that is magical, fantastic, or something that is beyond comprehension of our mere mortals and human beings. It is inside us. It's in our day-to-day. It's in the coffee break. It's in our breakfast and lunchtime. It's in our snacks, in our virtual happy hours now in this digital life. It's in all of that, and that really penetrates the way that we do work. And in a different way, it's also the connection between people. It's about that tolerance, tolerating mistakes, which is really associated to being confident enough to trust the people that we work with, to trust our bosses, our superiors, to trust our employees, and just to trust our team overall. So these factors, they are in our day-to-day, and they determine how we do things. And when it's really positive, this is a very, very creative environment. So that was the idea that I wanted to share with you. It was my pleasure to be able to deliver this talk. I hope this helps out in any way. I hope that you start thinking about it somewhat. And my message is not that it was just great, it was just that. My message is, what are we going to do differently from now on? So I want you to think about the next big thing, something that you can do. There are definitely things that you can contribute to make something happen and to improve your day-to-day, to improve the people around you and your customers day-to-day, and everything that you do in your life.